Hey loves, and welcome to Inner Love Messages. My name is Sarah, and if you're new here, I want to extend a warm welcome to the channel. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. Let's dive into the message for today. I've pulled a love message from your person using my deck, and what's coming through is a deeper look into how they're feeling, how they see you, and what's really going on in your connection right now. We're starting with a message that immediately carries a heavy emotional tone. So much has gone unsaid. Just a few words, but they hold an undeniable weight. It feels like there's a silence between you and this person, a kind of emotional gap filled with things left unspoken, especially if the person on your mind carries a masculine energy. There's a quiet tension in their heart, perhaps guilt, or a hesitation to be fully honest. It's almost as if there's something they've revealed, maybe without meaning to, and now they're wrestling with what that means. They could be caught between the urge to open up and the fear of what might happen if they do. There's something mysterious about the way this person communicates. It's subtle, almost deliberate, like they're speaking in riddles or half-truths. The connection is there, conversations are happening, but you might feel like they're keeping you at a distance, even while trying to stay close. They might be choosing their words carefully, saying just enough to keep your curiosity alive, but not so much that you truly understand what's going on in their heart. It's the kind of connection that leaves you feeling like there's more to the story, like they're showing you a glimpse of something real, but only through a narrow crack in the door. Their words leave space for wonder, for questioning, for that quiet knowing that something is being held back. And despite this emotional fog, the chemistry between you two is undeniable. There's an energy in this connection that can't be ignored, a pull that keeps bringing you back to each other. Yet, in the face of such strong attraction, they seem to be holding themselves back. It's like they're deliberately keeping things light, steering away from anything that might feel too serious or emotionally intense. Not because they don't feel it too, but because stepping deeper into this connection would mean confronting something within themselves that they're not quite ready to face. They feel drawn to you, but they're caught in a storm of their own doubts, insecurities, and fears. It's not about a lack of care, it's about the emotional weight they carry. This creates a push-pull dynamic that can be so confusing. You might find yourself wondering what they really want, why they aren't moving forward with something that feels so real. But the truth is, this uncertainty doesn't stem from you, it's rooted in them. Emotionally, they're on a roller coaster. One moment they might feel sure of their feelings, and the next they're completely thrown off. It's like they're trying to navigate their way through their own emotional fog, unsure of what's real, unsure of what they're ready for. That internal confusion makes it hard for them to find solid ground in the relationship with you. It's not that they don't want connection, it's that the idea of vulnerability feels overwhelming right now. For them, even identifying what they truly feel can be difficult. They might be caught in a process of self-discovery, one they haven't quite figured out how to share with anyone, let alone someone who stirs something so deep within them. The emotional turmoil they're going through might not make sense to them either. It's like they're stuck in between wanting to move closer to you and fearing the unknown of what that closeness would bring. There's a strong desire for intimacy, for something more meaningful, but also a gripping fear of what that means. It leaves them hovering in a kind of emotional limbo, drawn to you, yet afraid to surrender to what they feel. What's clear, though, is that they do value the connection they share with you. They genuinely enjoy being around you, but their actions are still tinged with caution. It's like they're bracing themselves before each interaction, mentally preparing what they'll say, how they'll say it, and what they'll allow themselves to show. There's a guardedness there, a part of them they're not yet ready to let you see. And while they share enough to keep things flowing between you, there's always that lingering feeling that they're keeping part of themselves behind a closed door. They offer fragments of their truth, carefully chosen pieces, but never the whole story. What's even more curious is that it doesn't feel like they're just withholding emotionally. It might be something even more personal. There's an experience, a fear, or a wound inside of them that they're hesitant to expose. Not because they don't trust you, but maybe because they don't fully trust themselves with what might happen if they let someone in too deeply. The more they care, the more vulnerable they feel, and with vulnerability comes the risk of being hurt or misunderstood. That fear, that reluctance, creates distance. It's not rejection, it's protection. They're holding back not to push you away, but to protect a part of themselves that they're not ready to offer, even if they want to. Their guarded behavior might even confuse them. It's possible they don't act this way with others, and they're left wondering why it's so hard to be open with you specifically. It's not that you've done anything wrong. On the contrary, the intensity of your connection might be what's triggering their inner conflict. Something about your presence touches them in ways that stir up unresolved feelings, and while that's powerful, it's also terrifying for someone who isn't used to going that deep emotionally. This tension between the desire to open up and the fear of doing so is a constant battle playing out within them, even if they're not showing it. At the heart of this entire dynamic, I sense the presence of a divine feminine energy, likely yours, that's beginning to feel frustrated. There are unanswered questions, emotional loose ends, and a sense of waiting that weighs heavily. It might feel like you're stuck in a game of emotional hide-and-seek, but it's not about manipulation, it's something deeper. What you're seeing is someone who is emotionally overwhelmed, uncertain, and not yet ready to confront the feelings that are rising to the surface. They may not fully understand their own emotional landscape, which makes it even harder for them to share it with someone else. There's so much going on behind the scenes. So much you're not seeing directly, but can feel intuitively. It's like your heart knows what's happening even when your mind doesn't have all the answers. You might notice their sudden silences, the way they pull away, the way they dodge certain questions. And deep down, you understand that it's not about disinterest, it's about fear. They're trying to shield something, and they're not ready to let it be seen. They may not even realize how obvious their emotional struggle is to someone like you, someone who's tuned into the unspoken layers. Your intuition is likely guiding you, helping you feel the truth that exists underneath their silence. You can sense the emotional tension, the internal tug-of-war, and even though they're not putting it into words, you're picking up on the signals. There's a deep emotional connection that's trying to emerge, but it's being held back by fears they haven't yet resolved. Their emotional distance is not a measure of how much they care, it's a reflection of the inner battles they're fighting, the parts of themselves they haven't yet made peace with. And then there's the way they respond, or don't respond, to the questions you ask. You might have asked them things that hold real emotional weight, things that are important for you to understand where you stand, but instead of offering clarity, they may give you vague answers, or none at all. It's like they're avoiding those questions because they know answering them truthfully would expose a part of themselves they're still trying to figure out. Their silence or evasiveness isn't meant to hurt you, but it does leave you feeling unsettled, like there's a deeper story playing out in the background that they're just not ready to reveal. Before you watch the full video, I want to pause here for a moment and say, if you feel that this reading has resonated with you or offered some insight, please consider leaving a super thanks as a token of appreciation. It truly supports the work I do and means a lot. Back to the message. Maybe you've been reflecting on your connection with them, trying to understand the signals to make sense of how they really feel. You've likely asked honest, direct questions in hopes of finding clarity, but even when they reply, there's something in the tone, in their energy, that feels withheld. It's like they're trying to keep control of the situation, but the more they try, the more obvious it becomes that there's something unresolved within them. You might notice them revisiting your questions in their mind, even long after you've asked them, caught in this internal back and forth about whether or not to tell you the whole truth. The reality is, they're not trying to deceive you. They're struggling to understand what's going on inside themselves. They've probably convinced themselves that they're okay, that they can keep things casual, stay unaffected. But the truth is, this connection is stirring something deeper, something they didn't expect and aren't sure how to handle. They might be trying to hide it, to keep their cool, but the emotional impact is becoming harder and harder for them to deny. What they feel for you is real, and that's what makes it so confusing and so difficult for them to navigate. What really stands out here is the emotional gap between what this person feels and how they're behaving. It's as though something deep is stirring within them, but their actions don't quite match up with it. You might have already sensed this. There's a strange contrast in the way they show up around you. One moment, they seem detached and composed, almost like they're trying hard to appear unaffected, but then there are these moments so subtle yet unmistakable where their energy shifts. Maybe it's in the way their gaze lingers on you just a second too long, or the unspoken softness in their body language. It's in those fleeting glances and quiet pauses that the truth slips out. They're far more emotionally invested than they're letting on. Even when they try to minimize their feelings or act like it's not that serious, the energy around them says otherwise. There's this intensity that seems to radiate whenever they're near you, like their mind is looping through thoughts of you, no matter how much they try to suppress it. They're attempting to stay composed, carefully crafting how they come across to you, all in an effort to guard their vulnerability. But every time they feel like they've got a grip on things, something small, Something you say or do reminds them of how deep this connection really runs. It's not something they can make sense of easily, nor is it something they can push away. The more they resist it, the stronger it tugs at them, leaving them in a kind of emotional tug-of-war between their head and their heart. What you might not realize is just how much space you occupy in their thoughts. You may not always see it, but you're on their mind more than they'd ever admit. They keep replaying the moments you've shared, going over your words, the questions you asked, the ones they didn't quite know how to answer. There's a part of them that knows they've held back when they probably should have opened up more. The depth of this connection is something they weren't expecting, and no matter how hard they try to resist it or rationalize it away, they can't ignore it. The truth is, they're feeling something very real, something powerful, and it's not something they can easily walk away from. For some of you, it may come as a shock to learn how deeply this person actually feels about you. Their emotions run far deeper than what they've shown on the surface. You might have sensed the chemistry, the pull between you both, but their silence or lack of clarity has likely left you questioning everything. It's strange to feel such a powerful bond, one that's clearly mutual, yet have them act as though nothing's going on. There's an invisible thread connecting you two, something that exists without needing to be spoken, but it's still confusing. You might find yourself wondering why, if the connection is so strong, they're not willing to say it out loud. This disconnect becomes even more evident when you look at how their behavior doesn't line up with the emotions you know are present. It's as if they're wearing a mask, hiding behind a version of themselves that feels safer. But that mask doesn't fool you. You can sense their truth, and your feelings for them are only deepening as a result. You see through them in a way they aren't used to, maybe even in a way they're not ready to accept. Still, you wait. You wait for them to take the next step to meet you in the space where this connection truly lives. Even though they keep holding back, it's likely that they're going through something internally that's hard to articulate. They're in a place of tension within themselves, caught between the part of them that wants to explore this connection and the part that's terrified of it. Their ego might be telling them to keep control, to avoid the messiness of vulnerability, while their heart is longing for something more real. On the surface, it might just look like they're not ready. But underneath, something much deeper is unfolding. There's a shared energy between you that neither of you fully understands yet, and you're both contributing to it in ways that feel almost unconscious. Through all of this, you're teaching them something without even trying. You're showing them what real love and connection look like, not the kind that's forced or manipulated, but the kind that flows naturally when two people are truly open. This connection is gently challenging them to let go, to feel instead of analyze, and to trust instead of control. They feel this pull towards you in ways they don't know how to explain, and that silent tension between you, the energy that remains unspoken, is creating both confusion and transformation. The things left unsaid between you have become powerful in themselves, shaping the experience you're both having. And before we go further, just a quick reminder. If you'd like to be part of our small and loving community, feel free to join us by hitting that subscribe button. It really helps support what we're creating together. Coming back to the connection, it's like there's this invisible tug of war happening between you two. You both feel it, even if neither of you is fully stepping into it. They likely know that you see more than they're showing, and that might make them even more guarded. They might not be ready to face the vulnerability that comes with truly opening up. But even in their silence, the bond between you remains undeniable. It speaks in moments, in shared looks, in the energy that flows even when words are missing. What's even more beautiful is the way you shift something in them. Without trying, you bring them out of their mind and into their heart. You reflect their truth back to them in ways they weren't prepared for. They're used to structure, to control, to logic, but you touch a softer part of them, a part that doesn't rely on rules or strategies. It throws them off balance. They pull back sometimes, maybe even push you away, not because they want to hurt you, but because they're overwhelmed by what they're feeling. It's not about manipulation or mind games, it's simply a reaction to the vulnerability they haven't yet figured out how to embrace. They may not even fully understand their own behavior, but it's clear that being around you stirs something real inside of them. They might try to stay distant or act like everything is under control, but their actions don't match the depth of what they're feeling. Deep down, they want to be seen and understood, but they're still learning how to express it. Being with you feels so effortless, so natural, and that in itself is unfamiliar to them. They're not used to something that just is, so their first response is to retreat, to overthink, to guard their heart. Even when they seem distant, they're still working through what this connection means. They're slowly finding their way, discovering how to feel safe in something that's both new and profound. And even if they don't say it, there's a part of them that deeply appreciates the space you've given them, the freedom to figure it out without pressure. The bond between you is undeniably strong. The chemistry is alive and real, but sometimes it might feel like they've drifted, like you're standing in this connection alone. To them, their silence or subtle gestures might feel like enough, like they've already shown you everything they can, and so they hold back. What they don't fully realize is that you can still sense the layers beneath their surface. You can feel the things they haven't said, you see through their words and into the truth of who they are. You've learned how to read the space between their words, and that alone makes them feel both vulnerable and safe. It's something they can't explain, but they know it's special. There's something deeper unfolding within them, and understanding it can bring you a sense of peace. When they say things like, "Ignore my actions," they're not rejecting you, they're revealing their inner turmoil. Their behavior doesn't align with their feelings, and that discrepancy is hard for them to face. They know they're sending mixed signals, and that knowledge weighs heavily on them. The guilt they carry isn't just about what they feel, it's about how their actions may be affecting you. They may not be aware of how much they're pushing you away, but it troubles them more than you know. This guilt grows over time, not because they want to hurt you, but because they feel caught between protecting themselves and embracing what you've made them feel. It's not about you, it's about what they're still working through inside. Their confusion is real, and their defenses are just a reflection of fear. But underneath all of that, their feelings for you remain steady and sincere, waiting for the moment they can finally stop hiding from what's already so real. They're acting from a place of fear, not because they don't trust you, but because they're scared of being vulnerable and the pain that might come from letting their guard down. It's likely they don't even fully realize this is what's happening. It's more of a subconscious reaction rooted in past experiences where being open may have led to hurt, so they've developed these emotional walls as a kind of survival instinct. And even though what they feel with you is different, they're still clinging to these old protective patterns. Part of them knows that this approach isn't necessary with you, but habits like these run deep, and breaking them feels risky, even if their heart wants to try. This inner conflict is actually more difficult for them than it is for you, and that's where much of the confusion comes in. When they first connected with you, they didn't feel the need to protect themselves like they usually do.
There was a sense of ease and openness that took them by surprise. But now, as feelings deepened, they've started second-guessing it all. That beautiful sense of natural connection they felt is now clashing with their old instincts to stay safe, to not get hurt. That's why they might suddenly seem distant or inconsistent. It's not about you. It's because they're struggling inside, trying to figure out how to let their guard down without completely losing their sense of safety. This push and pull is why their behavior may seem contradictory. They want to be open with you, to trust what they're feeling. But that old reflex to retreat is still alive. You might be sensing that shift in their energy, and it can feel confusing or even painful. But please know, it's not a reflection of how they feel about you. It's about their own fears, their own hesitation. They genuinely want to move closer to you, but they're unsure how to do that without feeling overwhelmed. And ironically, the more they try to protect themselves, the more distance it creates between you two, the very opposite of what they truly want. If you resonate with the divine feminine in this connection, you might be especially sensitive to this energetic shift. You feel their hesitation, the confusion, the emotional retreat, and it doesn't sit right with what you know to be true in your heart. It feels like you're reaching out for something real, only to find an invisible wall going up in return, and even though it feels personal, it's not something you caused. It's the result of the internal battle they're facing, one they may not even know how to explain to you. But this realization is slowly coming to them, and it's weighing heavily on their heart. They know this defensive behavior isn't serving them anymore. They're becoming aware of how it's getting in the way of something meaningful with you. They want to move forward with the same openness they felt in the beginning, but old habits have a tight grip on them. They're afraid of being hurt, and that fear is making them hesitate, even though their heart is leaning towards you. This isn't about a lack of love or interest. It's about not knowing how to navigate this emotional terrain without slipping back into old fears. You might be feeling like the relationship should be progressing naturally, that it's time for things to deepen, but instead you're seeing them withdraw or act unsure. Something feels off, even though the bond between you has felt real and effortless until now. They're stuck in their head, overthinking what should come next, trying to figure out how to move forward in a way that feels safe. And in doing so, They're missing out on the natural rhythm the two of you once shared. This moment of hesitation is revealing just how complex their emotions really are. While everything started out feeling smooth and intuitive, they're now caught in a cycle of questioning whether they're truly ready for the next step. There's also a layer of guilt in them because they can see how much you value authenticity and flow. They know you don't want to be in a relationship built on fear or resistance. You're someone who leads with openness, who values genuine connection, and you're not trying to force anything. You want a partnership where both people feel free to be themselves. And right now, they're wondering whether they're capable of showing up that way, whether they can meet you in that same space of trust and emotional clarity. What's important to understand is that both of you entered this connection with honest intentions. There were no hidden motives, no manipulation, just two souls feeling something special and seeing where it would lead. But now, they're stepping back, not because they don't want this, but because they're trying to manage the overwhelming feelings this connection brings up. They've always relied on that emotional armor in the past, but with you, it doesn't seem to fit anymore. And that realization is stirring something deep within them. For the first time, they're beginning to open in ways they never have before. And while it's exciting, it's also disorienting. They're used to structure, predictability, and control in relationships. But with you, things are more fluid, more intuitive, and that's both beautiful and intimidating. They weren't prepared for how deeply they would feel or how much it would shake up their usual ways of being. So now they're trying to make sense of a connection that feels both right and unfamiliar all at once. They want you to know that they're working through this. They're doing their best to understand how to be vulnerable and real with you, without feeling like they're losing themselves or rushing something they're still learning how to navigate. They've pulled back, yes, but not because they don't care. They're figuring out how to show up in a way that feels true to who they are. They want to offer you their heart, but they're scared of giving it away without knowing how to hold it with care. And here's the part they may not even have said out loud. You already have their heart. They try to guard it, but it's no use. You've touched something deep inside them. Whether they've admitted it to themselves or not, you've become someone they can't just walk away from. Divine Feminine, you hold something sacred to them. This isn't about a lack of feelings, it's the opposite. They care so deeply that it's made them unsure of how to express it without fear getting in the way. They don't want fear to ruin something so real. There's another message that's coming through from them, something they need you to hear. Please don't hold back for me. They're aware on some level that you're pulling back too. You're both intuitive, and the energy between you is so intertwined that you often reflect each other without even trying. They feel it when your energy shifts. They may not fully understand why, but they're picking up on your frustration. What they don't realize is that their own emotional hesitation is what's causing your guardedness in return. You're mirroring them. When they pull back, you instinctively do the same, not to punish them, but as a natural reaction to the change in their energy. You're not withdrawing because you've lost interest. You're just protecting yourself from the same uncertainty they're projecting. And that's where the dynamic starts to feel like a confusing back and forth. It becomes this unintentional dance where one of you retreats and the other follows, creating a loop that neither of you actually wants. Their desire to control how much of themselves they show is disrupting the connection. They think holding back might protect what's between you, but it's only making things feel heavier and more strained. They want that light, effortless feeling back, the way things were in the beginning, but to do that, they need to let go of the control and allow the connection to breathe. The more they hold back, the more it reflects in you, and the harder it becomes to feel that natural flow again. As they work through all of this, remember that this isn't about them not wanting you or doubting the connection. They're just learning how to be vulnerable in a new way, and it's going to take a little time. If you can both be patient and continue to communicate from the heart, you'll find your way through this. The connection is still there. The love is real. Even if the road feels a little uncertain right now, the foundation between you is strong enough to support the growth that's happening. If you're wondering how they see you right now, Divine Feminine, your energy feels incredibly powerful, like a bolt of lightning that cuts through everything with clarity. They're feeling that intensity, even if you haven't said a word. They're watching every subtle shift in your mood and behavior, and even the smallest change doesn't go unnoticed. Your pullback has affected them more than you may realize. It's stirred something in them, something they've been trying to ignore, and it's made everything feel heavier and more emotionally charged. What's even more remarkable is that they trust your judgment. They may not say it, but they rely on your intuition, your ability to see what lies beneath the surface. You've always had a way of understanding them, even in moments when they didn't fully understand themselves. That kind of trust isn't easy for them to give, and yet with you, it's there, it's real, and it's something they value deeply, even if they struggle to show it. But right now, they're feeling torn. Your energy has shifted, and while they understand why, it's making them feel more vulnerable than ever. They're realizing that this isn't just any connection, it's something that's demanding their full presence, their full heart, and they're scared. But they're also waking up to just how much they want this to work. Ever since you started pulling back, it's triggered something intense inside them, an emotional wave they haven't been able to escape. They're not used to feeling this exposed or vulnerable, especially when they've always prided themselves on keeping everything under control. But now, it feels like their emotions are laid bare, like a wound that hasn't healed. It's raw, it's painful, and they're struggling with how to process it all without confronting the truth behind it. Deep down, they're starting to accept that they've played a major role in how things have turned out. Admitting that to themselves hasn't been easy, but the thought is there, lingering in the background and refusing to be ignored. They know their actions, or maybe even their inactions, have led to this distance between you, and even if they haven't been able to say it out loud, they're slowly coming to terms with the consequences of what they've done. This emotional gap you've created isn't something they can brush off. It's not the reality they want, and it definitely isn't what they envisioned for this connection. What's hitting them hard, right now, is the clarity that things can't stay the way they are. They've got your attention, yes, but not in the way they'd hoped. Where once your energy may have felt soft and warm, it now mirrors their behavior back to them, showing them truths they've been trying to avoid. It's uncomfortable, even a little painful, but it's also waking them up. It's making them realize that if they don't start making changes, they might lose something that truly matters to them. They've begun to feel the difference. What once felt light and free now feels like it's teetering on the edge of becoming rigid and lifeless. The flow between you is no longer effortless, and that scares them more than they'd like to admit. They're carrying the weight of this shift. Their emotions for you run too deep to allow this connection to just fall apart or become something repetitive and unsatisfying. The thought of watching it all spiral into a cold, stagnant routine feels unbearable. They care about you too much to let that happen. They're starting to understand that without change, real change, this relationship might fall into unhealthy patterns neither of you truly wants. They've been thinking a lot lately, piecing together moments, conversations, and silences. They know you've withdrawn some of your energy, and they're beginning to understand why. Maybe it's been your way of protecting yourself, of setting a boundary so you don't end up completely drained. They feel that space you've created, and it's left them reflecting on everything. Perhaps you've asked them questions about their behavior, and they brushed them off with vague answers, hoping to avoid discomfort. But those conversations, however subtle, have planted important seeds in their mind. They're starting to realize that the way they've been showing up in this relationship could cause damage that's not easily repaired, so yes, they've felt you pulling away and it hurts. They wish you wouldn't, but at the same time they understand why you have. It's forcing them to confront how their energy has affected this connection. It's showing them the future that could unfold if they don't take accountability now. This is a turning point for them, one of those rare moments where they're being offered a chance to step up and make things right before it's too late. They know the decisions they make now will shape everything that follows. There's a sense of urgency building inside them because they can't ignore the emotional pressure anymore. Something has to change. The question they're facing now is whether they're ready to grow, to really look at themselves and do the work necessary to bring the connection back into balance. Time will tell, but one thing is already clear. They've been moved by your distance, and it's made them look inward in a way they never have before. The next time they speak to you, it might start with a simple yet powerful phrase, "I've made so many mistakes." And those words will be soaked in truth. It's not just about you. It's about their entire journey. They're finally taking a hard look at the relationships, choices, and behaviors that shaped who they are. This isn't a fleeting thought or a moment of regret. It's a real, emotional reckoning. With you, something feels different. You've caused them to pause and examine themselves in ways they never did before. What they're realizing now is that their old habits, the ways they used to handle relationships, no longer apply here. The way they acted in past connections may have worked before, but with you, it falls flat. It's not enough. You've inspired them to reflect more deeply, to look at what they've been blind to for so long, and with that comes the awareness that their own behaviors may have slowed down or even hurt the progress between you.
This clarity is shaking them. They know now that if they want something real and lasting with you, they have to show up differently. They're trying to sort through this confusion, unsure how to act on these new insights. But one thing is clear. You've become someone they could see in their life for the long haul. That idea both humbles and overwhelms them. They may not have voiced it yet, but they've been thinking about a future with you more seriously than ever. Those thoughts bring with them a swirl of emotions. They're wondering if you feel the same, if your visions for the future align with theirs. These questions have been circling their mind as they sit with everything they've recently come to realize. Underneath all the confusion and the self-doubt is one undeniable truth. They want to find a way to make this work. They want to move forward with you, not in a forced way, but with sincerity and meaning.
Right now, their energy is shifting. You've become the focal point of their thoughts, not just as someone they care about, but as someone whose opinion of them matters deeply. They're wondering how to rebuild, how to show you that they're capable of growth, that they can be the person you need. And in this moment of inner transformation, their usual emotional walls are beginning to crumble. Something about your presence, your authenticity, your honesty, has cracked open the defenses they didn't even know they were still holding on to. They're starting to realize that they no longer need to shield themselves the way they once did. You've shown them that vulnerability doesn't have to be dangerous. It can be beautiful, even freeing. That realization is pushing them to act differently. You may soon feel this shift in the way they reach out to you. It might not be heavy or dramatic. It could be something light and heartfelt, a small step forward that bridges the emotional gap. They're not trying to rush back into intensity, but they are looking for a way to reconnect that feels natural. This moment marks a turning point in how they engage with the connection, and their evolving energy will reflect that. They're changing, and they want to bring that new version of themselves into whatever comes next between you. And when it comes to how they truly feel about you, the truth is, the idea of losing you is something they've been wrestling with more than they've let on. Lately, they've realized just how irreplaceable you are. It's a truth that caught them off guard and hit them hard. They simply can't imagine their life without you in it. If they were honest with themselves, they'd admit that the thought of being without you terrifies them. There's a heaviness in that thought, a heartache they don't even want to acknowledge, but it's there. You might not always see just how deeply they're invested, but make no mistake, this connection touches every part of them. It's not just physical or surface-level attraction. You move them deeply, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. They admire your clarity, your strength, your ease, and the way you carry yourself. There's something about the way you know what you want, the way you speak with purpose that commands their respect. You don't overpower, you simply are, and that presence is magnetic to them. Even when they've tried to keep their distance or hide behind emotional walls, you've found a way in. Your sincerity, your truth, has made it impossible for them to stay guarded. You've opened up a part of them they didn't even know was closed off. For the first time in a long while, maybe ever, their heart feels open. And with that openness comes the desire to give something back. Right now, they're planning something special, something to show you how much you mean to them. It might be a gesture, a moment, a surprise that brings lightness to everything that's felt so heavy. Whatever it is, it's their way of saying thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for staying true to yourself. And thank you for being the person who's helped them see the truth about themselves. This is their chance to show you just how much this connection means to them. Everything they're doing right now reflects a deep desire to nurture and protect what you share. They don't want anything to interfere with the happiness growing between you. The very idea of your bond breaking or shifting unsettles them, and they're doing what they can to prevent that from happening. With every part of themselves, they're cherishing what the two of you have built together. If they haven't yet expressed everything they feel, there's a good chance that moment is coming. Sometimes, those who carry a more masculine energy wait for what feels like the right time before revealing something as vulnerable as love. In their heart, they've probably been feeling these emotions for a while, perhaps longer than even they expected. These feelings may have arrived suddenly, catching them off guard, and in some ways, even scaring them. That fear could have made them hold back, unsure of how to move forward. But those emotions haven't faded. On the contrary, they've grown stronger, and now they're finding it harder and harder to resist the pull you have on them. Even if they haven't said it out loud, their actions have likely already given them away. Their energy, their body language, the way they look at you and move around you. It all speaks volumes. There's a quiet warmth in the way they show up, something deeply affectionate that doesn't need words to be understood. Their emotions are written in those soft, subtle moments, and if you pay close attention, you can feel them. Still, there's something weighing on them. The need to know how you feel in return. As wrapped up as they are in their own emotions, they're also deeply attuned to yours. They care about your perspective, about how you see them, and about whether this connection means as much to you as it does to them. They're looking for reassurance, hoping that the love and care they feel is reflected back to them. It's not just about their own heart, they want to feel yours too. The emotional exchange between you matters more than anything else right now, and their greatest hope is that you feel the same way about them as they feel about you. So when they give you their attention now, know that it's real and meaningful. It isn't casual or fleeting. It's grounded in genuine emotion. They care about how you see this connection, how they're showing up in your life, and what this relationship means to you. Your feelings, your voice, and your experiences are important to them. They're paying attention, wanting to make sure that things are unfolding in a way that feels good and supportive for you both. They're thinking about your emotional needs, how they can grow with you, and how to keep evolving as a partner who meets you where you are. This isn't just a passing phase for them. They're thinking long-term, feeling the weight and promise of this bond. They believe in it. They believe in you. And they're beginning to see a future where the two of you are side by side, building something lasting. This isn't a fleeting dream, it's something they're actively moving toward. They're making space in their life for you, not just in the present, but with an eye toward the future. Their heart and mind are aligned with this purpose, and they're preparing for the next chapter, one where your connection deepens and grows stronger with time. They're also aware, though, that there are still parts of themselves they need to work on before they can fully step into this next phase. Sometimes their emotions may feel inconsistent or their energy a bit up and down. That isn't because they're unsure of you or the bond. It's a reflection of the healing and inner growth they're still undergoing. They're working through old fears, uncertainties, and emotional blocks because they want to be the best version of themselves for you and for the future you're creating together. The work they're doing is leading them toward a more balanced and grounded emotional space. They want to show up for this connection in a way that's stable, mature, and truly open. As they continue this inner journey, the changes they're making will begin to reflect outward. Eventually, that might look like a deepened commitment, something tangible that shows how serious they are about you. It could be moving in together, making a public declaration of love, or reaching another milestone that solidifies the bond you share. Whatever form it takes, it will come from a place of truth and intention. They see you as someone who belongs in their life, not just for a season, but for the long haul, and they're ready to make that vision real. There's a quiet but powerful energy around this connection right now. It's full of hope, trust, and the kind of devotion that builds something unshakable over time. It's pulling both of you closer to a love that feels real, lasting, and beautifully transformative. If you're resonating with this message and find it helpful, your support truly means the world. Consider giving a super thanks. It really does make a difference. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more uplifting and heartfelt updates that aim to inspire and support you on your journey. Your presence here matters deeply, and we're incredibly grateful for you.